Thompson Productions.
Things are going to start happening to me now.
I think Tyler is amazing.
And I'm a fan of this show. I've watched several episodes.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. You stink, Tyler.
Never promise crazy a baby.
Oh, I like that. That's a cool idea.
Are either of you homosexuals?
I go both ways. What do you think?
You mean like flaming or?
No, we're not homosexual, but we are willing to learn.
But I do wonder, for others, in other cases, whether libertarianism today is just an excuse for many on the right to act selfishly.
Look at me. And then some fat asses in Washington started having opinions. The Olympic Committee started having opinions. You bitch, I know you. You started writing your opinions.
And it just makes me wonder, you're dead, bitch. You know, why are you doing this to this poor guy?
I don't care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is,
Did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you. That one.
Get it? Power.
Power. Tyler Yonke, LPR, coming to you. My mom. Who's there? Your mom. Thanks, Jim Jesus. My mom's dead. No, she's not. God, that's a horrible joke. Hope everyone's doing good. We got some people in the chat. I've got an interesting show tonight. I'm going to go over BroGrove, what happened there, some excitement, my breakdown of how that all went. And then I'm going to play some clips because I think this is an important, and it was a 2-hour podcast. It was Tucker Carlson, Ted Cruz. You're going to get annoyed with it, but I think it was very important, actually. So I think there was some important aspects that came out of there. And I'm only going to do maybe the first, 50 minutes, not the whole thing, but I'm going to play some clips from that with stuff that, because what's interesting is you talk to people, went out to BroGrove, Brohemian Grove. I'm just going to call it BroGrove. Out there in Florida with Top Lobster and the gang. And I was talking to him right away, and he's talking about the Ted Cruz thing, and I'm like, he goes, well, I've seen the clips. And I'm like, yeah, the clips are orgasmic, but the actual video, the full thing is more of a teardown. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. So hope everyone's doing well. I had it confused. Last time I think I had the show, I had it confused as to when it was. I thought it was over Father's Day weekend, and I had a settlement conference on the Friday. We go out there, we get it resolved. We vacate the trial that I had all set for the next week during when BroGrove was going to happen. And so I called up top, and I'm like, I could head out. And he's like, yes. Venmo's me money immediately for the plane ticket. And I was like, holy crap. So I got a ticket out there. And, when you're going late, you don't want to spend too much money. So I had to, get it with, I had some layovers. So I had a layer on the way out over at Dallas. It was Midway. And then on the way back, I had it in Arizona. Fly out there Thursday, come in, had a car rented, got towed. He couldn't stop talking about the random comparisons with me and random from the year before. I'm like, I'm reputable. I'm able to get a car. I didn't give you any kind of video of me getting raped, which is what graped, which is what random had done. And so, at least that's what Toad says. So anyway, it was all good. Go out to drive north from, so it was Thursday afternoon. Got in there about 5. Toad had got in there like 2. Cole was and his wife were coming in like at 8. We weren't going to wait around. They got a ride up with Duke and CD. Met them, wonderful people. It was great to see a bunch of people, and I did not have a bad interaction. Okay, and so I'm going to break down kind of the shows that happened, but I'm going to walk you through my time. So we drive up there. I was starving. Got some food. Get up there, and Daniel, nice place, a wonderful wife, nice kids. His dad lives next door. You guys have probably all heard this, but he's already working hard. So I get out my laptop and we start to break down what we need to do for me producing this thing. Because we've got to have, certain music, intro, video stuff gets going on. And so I had a spreadsheet and I was just going through this. And so I had questions I needed to ask for the different performers and whatnot. And, we were able to do so. And then the next day we had a lot of work to do. And this thing starts in the evening. So let me just pull this up here. I think we can do... there's kind of the schedule. So Friday, Shane Cashman is going to be there. I was supposed to pick him up at the airport, but Shane Cashman, no real ID, I guess, so he's driving. So then he gets there just a little bit late. Shane Cashman, Nephilim Death Squad, Conspiracy Roundtable, Cult of Conspiracy, stand-up comedy headliner Sam Tripoli, and then the next day was Elijah Schaefer, Black Bodybuilding, Fight Back with Jake Shields, and stand-up with Owen Benjamin again. So and I gotta meet quite a few of the people there. Let's see here. Let's go back here. This is a Top's house. Austin Picard is there. Raven. Here's Owen Benjamin, 6'8". I mean, he's just a giant feller coming in. So there's Toad, and they did a little practice of the ukulele. Let's see if we can get that was him doing their thing there. So I'll just say this, and then we'll kind of go through some of this stuff. Owen Benjamin, Shane Cashman, two of the nicest people you can meet there. Surprisingly, right? Owen Benjamin comes into the house. He helps out. He's getting to what he needs to do. I didn't spend as much time with Sam Tripoli, but he was very nice when he was there. Elijah Schaefer came in on Saturday. He was nice as well. Lauren Witzke was nice people. But the absolute nicest were Shane Cashman and Owen Benjamin. And it's like, this is what I wanted to say about those two, which is, people come up, there's a bunch of, cool, the groupies, the fans or whatnot. Some are from here, some are from there, for different people. Owen took time to talk to them. And I don't mean just like, hey, okay, nice. And then the next, he would talk them and ask them questions. And you did that with me as well. Same with Shane Cashman. Wonderful. And you know what? Let me just pull through some of these other videos, these pictures, because there's my stuff taking time here. I hope if I'm doxing out these people, who cares? So there's the venue. There's this group. If you guys saw the video at all, this is this group that went up there. They were super nice too. They were a little odd, but there's a decent sized venue. You can see all these tables here, fits 4 or 5 at a table. And there was enough, at least room for about 200 people in this Moose Lodge. And it was actually a decent venue for this thing. So we had our whole sound system set up here. There's these two losers. There's this booth in here. You can come in here and do confessionals. I don't know what that was for. We had a full-on. There's my spot back here running 2 computers and a big soundboard for everybody. So I hope it came across okay. If you guys saw it, if not, you can join the Patreon for them and do this and sign up. There was me producing that stuff. More of this. This guy is the guy that owns the joke joint, which I guess leases out from this Moose Lodge. He was an odd fellow. I told him his outfit was something Prince would wear. It was very odd. He was odd. He wanted to be a comedian. It was a little bit, was he a comedian? I don't know. He did some of the same jokes both nights. He really wants to produce. He wants to get up there and do this stuff. Fine. Sam Tripoli then comes up and tells jokes as well. He killed it. I thought he did really well. Now, the chat was upset because we were pushing this out on Patreon, and Sam did not want this produced. I mean, it's shown. He's working on stuff, so he even called it out one time during the show. You're not doing this live, are you? Which we weren't doing live. Oh, that was my beer I hid. There was my view for Saturday night. I had Owen up there just sitting in front of me because we brought this piano in. Who are these people? They're just fans. This is what I'm talking about. He's just out here hanging out with people and having actual conversations with him. It was actually impressive. This is my backside view. Cole up there with Elijah. Toad with Elijah. This is the bodybuilding thing, which was really disgusting. Cole won that. He was worried about it. There's Shane Cashman, I guess, up there. And then Owen Benjamin. And then he and Toad doing some stuff. I got a picture with Owen. That's the only person I got a picture with the whole time. And then funny, Toad had been up on stage. Okay, Toad had been. I'm gonna take some pictures here. I got to give them to these guys. This is his producer, I guess, over there. So we're up on. Toad is up on stage. He gets called up on stage with Owen, and they do this whole thing, and then they do another thing. And Owen was great to him the whole time, just fascinated with Toad. And then I was getting ready to go. I was shutting some things down. We're gonna go eat. And Toad comes up to me. I've got a picture with Owen, but we're doing stuff together. Like you saw, we're there. We're just hanging out with these guys all the time. And I'm producing this thing, so I've got to kind of work with Owen on some things. His other guy who's introducing him, all this stuff we're doing. So I'm kind of working intimately with these guys, and they were fantastic. And and then Toad comes up to me and he goes, "Do you think Owen would take a picture with me?" That's the most sad and hilarious thing all at the same time. So I walk over there. I did this with him with Dave Smith. When I first met Dave Smith, I introduced him to Toad, who he already knew. It was just, Toad is crazy like this. So I walk up to Owen and I'm like, "Hey, Owen, I don't know if you met Toad. He would like a picture with you." So we got a picture with the great Owen Benjamin. Sam Keel. Oh, CD's in here. Yeah, he was awesome. Who else we got? I'll make it next year for sure. Couldn't do that this year. Can't wait. My last week, thought, boys, I'm graduating. Oh, good job. This is my last week. So sorry if I'm missing some of the chat here. Try to go back through and make sure we're not missing everything here. It looks like, so I just want to say this was really cool. There's a lot of neat people there. You meet them online, and then you go and you don't necessarily want to hang out with everybody all the time, but Conspiracy, Connie from Conspiracy, Horseshoes and Hand Grenades were there. Not so nice guy, Rat. I mean, there was a bunch of that side. There was, Owen's people. There were some random people in there. And it was a lot of fun. I thought Shane Cashman really impressed me because he got up and did the emceeing and he just killed it with that. He's really good stage presence. He also did some comedy, and he's like, I was supposed to do some comedy, open for Sam Tripoli. And what he did was, Sam's like, "Just go read your tweets." And he went up there and just read his tweets. And there were some other comedians, like the owner there. There was also this other guy, local guy. Shane Cashman did better just reading his tweets, and some of it is just the way he read it and the timing. So I was actually impressed with him. Once again, like I said, super nice guy. A lot of people. I had a great time. Meet Nancy. Who else? If I forgot someone out there, meet Cavern. A bunch of people. So if I forgot your name, and this was my suggestion, it was like, you've got to. Because we see all these people with avatars and they have fake names and whatnot. So I'm like, you need name tags. So actually Raven got name tags and they would put like, Meet Cavern. And it's like, oh, dude, there you are. So it was fantastic. I had a great time. We get done with it Saturday night. We go over and have some food, share it with a bunch of the people, the performers and whatnot. Go back to Top's house. And I have a 7 a.m. flight. So, I got to be at the airport, before 6. And it's in Orlando, which is an hour 20 down there. So I go to bed finally at 1 o'clock, get up at 4, take a shower because I needed that, and then drive all the way down there, have some issues with the airport, dropping the car. Anyway, drop the car, get on the plane, perfectly fine. Could not sleep the whole time. Come home. Okay, maybe I'll do this. I could not sleep at all. And I'm just like out of my mind. And then my wife wants to go see this dog. And so I'm like, I don't know, we'll go see it. And I'm like, kind of like, so then we go and we check out this dog. Okay. And it's this little puppy. I'm like, okay, we're obviously not going to get a puppy, but there's this, whatever. So we paid a few, we got a puppy. That's the thing. We got this puppy and we got another dog in the house. So now we have a white dog and we have 3 black dogs and 12 chickens and a cat. It's fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy. Anyway, I would suggest you guys do. I've done this a few times, met up with people, okay? This is with the LP stuff, went and did a Reno, and, you go to do LP stuff. But it's kind of fun. I mean, that's where I met Toad. That's where I met Reed Coverdale. That's where I met Clint. A bunch of other people. Adam Choi. I mean, there's all kinds of ones I've met here that are kind of in this space. And then now I've met those guys as well. Cole, he and his wife, they were awesome. Toad is, I love Toad, right? And you don't know until you're with Toad and he's just everything he is on screen, but he's just super nice and genuine and crazy and yet not crazy, okay? It's hard to describe until you get to know. CD and Duke, wonderful people. Top's wife was great. Like I said, his dad. Raven and his wife, they're fantastic. Everyone was super nice. And part of it for me was I was going out there just to do work, go to help. And I had a great time. So I want to get back kind of real quick here. So we had on the first day, like I said, where's the list? Where's the list here? Well, anyway, we got Shane Cashman did his thing. Sam Tripoli went up there. He had Nephilim Death Squad guys with him. It was great. Cole and Toad they were the second night with Elijah. They just, they're fantastic with the way they can go, because not everything translates live. There was a conspiracy roundtable, guys, that if you're gonna rate everything, that was the bottom. Now it wasn't bad. They had Austin Picard up there. They had a few other guys. There was too many people, and then this is also a stress when you take a show like this. Even though, and I think this helps when I'm doing it live here. Plus I go to court. If I were to be up there, I don't think I would have a problem as long as you know what you're doing, because you can play up the crowd and you just try to do whatever. But it's not always everybody's gig, and so some of these guys got up there and it was an interesting topic, and then at some point they're going on too long, and then they brought in more people. It was too hard to really keep track on that thing. So they need to maybe hone their live skills just a little bit more. That's all I'm saying about that one. But for the most part, fantastic time. I had a great time. You guys should go out, meet some people, because it's just a little bit different. And there's always weirdos. You got to be careful of that. The Crows play the Chicks. What else we got to go to the events, meet your internet friends. Yes, Force Mommy, Hi C. Okay, yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. Okay, so now we're going to get into, is there anything else? There's the bodybuilding thing. I'm kind of just glazing over this because they're at some point going to put this thing out on the internet, and you will be able to check it out over there. I just wanted to put, from my point of view, a few things. Top Lobster is a hard working person. Okay. His wife is supportive of him in this. They're trying to do this. They're trying to make money. They took care of me. Like I said, when I bought my ticket, I just bought a ticket. He Venmoed me the money immediately. I'm like, what a stand-up guy. And then what that did to me as well, I'm just like, then great. I'm going to do what I can. Well, I'd be this anyway. I wanted to go out there and do the work and help out. And you help out as much as possible. I'm a fucking adult, and that's what we do. And so I had a good time. But once again, this kind of plays into this Tower Gang thing, because Jose and Clint didn't show up for this. Perfectly fine. But they were there. Jose did come to Clint's house, and they did an interview with Josie and Sam Tripoli and Austin Picard. Perfectly fine. But, I wanted to see them, but I was super busy, so I couldn't really, get out. It just didn't work out. And I didn't feel it would be right for me to skip out and not be helping, Top is all day, every day that I'm there, when he paid for my way out there, and I'm going to go hang out with some other people. But I just also wanted to say, the dude works fucking hard, and he gets shit done. And it was a pleasure and somewhat of an honor. I would say somewhat of an honor to be there helping out. Okay. So pretty excited about that. But and I will do it again. If he's going to do this again, I will do it again. And there's always things you could learn. Yeah, the hardest working man in disinformation is exactly right, CD. Okay, let's get to some nasty stuff going on here. Okay, whoops. So this was an article, Gray Zone, and I'm not going to read it, but I do suggest you do. But it sets the tone here. Israeli fanatic running Ted Cruz's office. Now, it's a bit much of a over-the-top display here. By the way, they're at BroGrove, and they're up there, who is it? Sam Tripoli and Elijah and Owen, because Owen and Sam have a rift. And so then they go on Jake Shield. He brings them up there, and they basically mended it online, and it was hilarious. And it was great. So it was pretty cool to see, actually, because, it's kind of the whole idea. You're online, you say wild shit. Those guys still say wild shit in person, but it's different when you can see their reaction, and you just, it's harder to go hard at someone, I think, that's right there. But with that in mind, that's what we saw because we're up there and then Iran gets bombed. So that was kind of a little George Bush moment where Raven comes up on stage and tells that to Shane Cashman, and then they start talking, or Elijah, and then they start talking about it, and then the guy, Trump impersonator, I forgot, Brad Binkley was there as well, did comedy, and he brought the Trump impersonator, and that Trump impersonator comes up on stage and reads a Trump tweet in his words. So it was actually, yes, Brad Binkley was there as well. I will say this, Brad, just a word. This is my first thought when Brad goes up on stage. I'm like, Brad's not blitzed, is he? I mean, he just showed up. He had to drive himself here, get here somehow. And then I saw that he brought the Trump impersonator up there, and I'm like, oh, that was the designated driver. That's making a lot more sense. So I said hi to him the first night. May or may not have recognized me. Second night, he comes up to me and he's like, hey, I saw you doing all the stuff there. I'm like, okay. He was a little more lucid that night. Okay, so got to get back to this Trump stuff. bombs Israel. There's all this debate out there, and we had already had the Ted Cruz thing, right? So what I'm going to say here was I was very impressed with Tucker Carlson's interview because, and you guys are like, do you really want to hear about this? Do you want to talk about BroGrove? I'm kind of done with, I mean, there's more I could talk about, but it's just me saying the same old things. It was great. It was great. So we're going to talk about this interview because I'm fascinated by it. And what I mean by that is two guys that know each other well in person and kind of a slugfest. Okay. Now I'm going to break this. There's this guy that runs his office, Ted Cruz, and this says he's a fanatic. He's born in Israel. His sister is. They've been just doing this kind of stuff for big, huge time Zionists. That's who runs Ted's campaign. But I don't think, or his office, but I don't think Ted has a problem with that because we're going to get into some more things here. Now, I'll just say this. I've said this before, I have a personal connection with Ted Cruz. I've never met him personally, but my ex-wife grew up with his wife. I went also to high school with his wife, Heidi. I just was with another friend of mine. We went to a concert this week. It was a long whirlwind week. And when I came home, and then Tuesday we drove over to Los Gatos and did a concert. Went and saw one, and he was talking about one of his other friends because he was a classmate of mine as well. So we all know Heidi. And he was like, oh, they just, it was it's one of our other friends' daughters was graduating or something like that. And Heidi and Ted were going to be there. And she's like, well, he can't come if he brings security. That's just ridiculous. So he ended up showing up, but he was just kind of a big douche that he always is. So I have an Israeli spy stationed outside Tyler's house. No, you don't, Andy, you piece of shit. So anyway, I have a little bit of that connection there with Ted, and he was the one that when this whole Trump was running for office the first time, I was pulling for Ted. Smart guy, right? I think he's former AG of Texas, smart attorney, argues Supreme Court stuff, and we've all seen videos of him just torching people on the Senate floor, okay? There's these gotcha videos all over the place. He's very good at that. So when I saw this and people were like, oh, you know, especially the clips, I'm not gonna play those clips. There's some of this stuff that's mixed in here, but these are my own that I've, got here. But when you've seen some of those, especially about the population of Iran, people are like, oh, that's a gotcha. And I'm like, back up. This is what Ted has done for years, okay? Is gotcha stuff on the floor of the Senate over and over and over, and he thrives on that. They all do, and it's just time that it got put back in his face. Now, what's fascinating is you can have these gotcha moments, but they continued over and over and over, all throughout. Ted's a smart guy, and somehow Tucker worked him to a T. And to me, it was fascinating. I really wish. I mean, it's a fucking 2-hour podcast, so it takes time, and we're not going to do every bit of it today, but we are going to start. So let's start here at the beginning. This is the first clip. I do have to take a look at, see, what did I label this one here? Okay, this is what is driving the issue of foreign intervention. We're going to start out slow and get ourselves hot. We're working at 1.25 speed, set back. Let me know. Can you hear it? For some reason, I'm having trouble with the mixer side here. Guys, give me a heads up if you can hear it. Okay. Did you hear that? You guys are just talking about handsomeness, desktop. Let's take a look here. I want to go in here. Oh, not that one. YouTube. Okay. There we go.
Donald Trump's foreign policy is very much what I'm describing, a non-interventionist hawk, where he understands that, and I think this is historically true, the best way to avoid war is being strong.
Okay, you guys are saying I can't hear or see it. Is that bullshit? Can't hear or see it. I do think there's a problem here, so let me try this one more time. Okay, YouTube, active monitor off. Should be going there. There we go, now let's try it.
That weakness and isolationism, I think, encourages war. So going back to regime change, where you started in Iran.
I don't think I disagree with anything you've said, so we may not be that far apart, really, because you said
that the single criterion for making decisions about America's foreign policy is America's national interest.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. Which is also America first. That's another way of putting that as well.
That's the definition of it.
Yeah.
It's hardly breaking news.
Okay, we're just starting out there, and then he does throw in some ads here. So I think we're good to go. I'm going to pull this over here because I need to be able to see when my which my next. Okay, so that's that one. We'll dump that one out here. Okay, the next one is how did Syria go? And I think this is once again we just got all kinds of great aspects here.
Bashar al-Assad now lives in Moscow.
Yeah.
He was taken out by our allies, and he's been replaced by a radical Islamist who was affiliated with ISIS. So is that a win or no?
Unclear. Look, Syria's a mess, so I've consistently opposed.
But we had a secular leader in a religious and ethnically diverse.
JC says, did you talk about the annoying Iranian influencer? No, that was just, there's so many of these things coming out. That was just last night. I watched that with Dave Smith, and it was brutal as well. She was horrible. You know, I'll say this. I also saw last night Clint was on with Joe Neerman. Joe Neerman is good logic. He's an attorney. I've liked Joe. I did a show about him, that this $100,000 judgment against him. He's Jewish, but he's been pretty good. I introduced he and Clint a few years ago, and they went on there and did this. Then I seen this last night. Now he's made comments about Dave Smith. He actually says he's not very smart. He's like a sixth grader, and I'd never heard Dave in a sense, especially when he talks about the Middle East. I'm like, what? So I'm watching this last night, and it's sad to me. Now, it was a good discussion, right? It was good. It wasn't angry. It wasn't a debate and everything. But this is a really good attorney that suddenly forgets about property rights. It blew my mind. They're talking about, well, but in 1948, a lot of those Arabs had only been there 5 years. That's what he said. And I'm like, yeah, but property rights still, it's not adverse possession where you're sitting on the land and it's got to be 30 years. And presumably that's your land, okay, your house, and then it's taken away. It blew me away. And then he has also been saying some crazy stuff, and I'm just like, you know what? I know you're a good guy, but it's disturbing to me when you're, and this is what we see with Ted, which he's not Jewish. We see with Ted though, where your mind is so melted on a certain issue, whether it's because of your religion, maybe because of your genetics or where you've grown up, or something is off, and you can't your constant what's your dissonance, your confirmation bias is so out of whack. You can't have any kind of conversation. So anyway, let's keep playing this here.
First country, now we have a religious extremist, Islamic religious extremist, who's overseeing the purge of Christians and Alawites. Is that better? That doesn't seem like a win.
One of the things you said is he was taken out by our allies. I don't think that's right. Israel didn't take Assad out. What happened, and I'll tell you.
What about Turkey?
Turkey didn't take him out. So it was interesting. I had a long.
How did Assad get kicked out? Yeah.
When Netanyahu was in D.C. a couple of months ago, he and I sat down for a couple of hours. He's a good friend of mine.
Okay.
And we talked actually about Syria. He made an interesting point that I've not heard anywhere else. In that
By the way, I'm not going to play the clip of it tonight, but Netanyahu's a good friend of his. He called Alinsky a hero, which Tucker pushes back on him because he's like, he's not, I never said that. And it's like, you tweeted he's horrific, and then in the video in the post they put it in there.
Said he believes what toppled Assad was when Israel took out Nasrallah. Nasrallah was the head of Hezbollah, and they took him out. And he made an interesting point. He said it's fascinating how a charismatic leader, and Bibi said, look, Nasrallah was a very effective terrorist leader. And when they took him out, that power base was supporting Assad. And that ultimately, in Bibi's analysis, removed the support from Assad and toppled him. But they weren't trying to take out Assad. My view now, I don't know.
So you don't think that, and I don't, it is very confusing, and I don't know that anyone really knows all the details, but you don't think that Israel or Turkey or NATO ally Turkey played any role in toppling Assad?
I don't know. I don't know that they did. Look, my understanding of that, they clearly took out Nasrallah and Hezbollah. They've decimated Hezbollah, but Hezbollah was waging war on them. So decimating Hezbollah was very good for Israel and very good for America, too. I mean, Hezbollah hated us. I would put Assad in the category of an unintended consequence, and whether it's good or bad, I don't know. I think time will tell.
For the United States.
Yeah, for the United States. I think.
And that's kind of the clip I wanted to play here, which is, and we'll keep going on these, obviously. But this is what, Dave Smith has talked, he has a comedy sketch, Libertas or whatever it was he did, where he talks about, you go in there and you topple a government, and then the rebels take over, and then now the rebels are against you. So then you got to topple the rebels with the new group, and then those are good. So it's just, but there's consequences to who you take out, and you got to think. You should be thinking about what are those consequences when this group that we're against gets taken out. Now he says this here, and he keeps going on, but he doesn't think about that with anything else. There's a great documentary out there. It's called The 100 Years' War, and it's basically Iran. Thaddeus Russell besmirked me for saying it. Iran. Basically 100 years up to like 2008 or so in there. So you get this, all the 1900s and a little bit before, and or right around 1908, I think is when it starts, talking about their oil and how they came into this, and then how the U.S. topples them in 1953. Interesting, right? We regime change doesn't always work out how you want, and but once again, it's just bad now. We take care of bad now, then worry about the rest later.
Time will tell the new leadership there. You're right to be concerned.
He's okay with him being concerned there, but not in other places.
Let me step back and let's talk regime change generally. I mentioned Syria. I also oppose the Iraq War. I think the Iraq War was a serious mistake. And we have a pattern, and going back to this binary of the interventionist and the isolationist. The interventionists advocate over and over again, there's a bad guy, there's a dictator who's doing bad things to his people, and they say, let's go topple him. And you have dictators in the Middle East who are killing radical Islamic terrorists. We come in and topple them. The radical Islamic terrorists take over, and they start killing Americans. In my view, how the heck does that help us? Like, Saddam Hussein was a horrible human being. He murdered and tortured people. Unequivocally bad guy. But it got much worse after we toppled him.
Okay. All right. So I'm glad you're agreeing with the whole pretext to this. It's good to see him. And by the way, this is what I mean by Tucker knows how he's going to talk. He says things like that, and then you use them against him at a later time. Fascinating. Okay. Trump's duty is to keep America safe, says Ted Cruz. Let's take it away.
Safe. Let's go back to where we started.
But can I ask, you've been in the district a long time in D.C., so have I. And the city's way more dangerous, and Congress runs this city.
No, it's a complete crap hole.
So I'm saying, like, no Iranian's ever going to kill me, but I could get carjacked here. And I just don't understand how the Congress could run this city and focus on the dangers of Iran when the city is like garbage. Okay. It's garbage.
But Congress doesn't run the city. We could.
Congress does run the city. It's in the Constitution.
It's in the Constitution, but they've given home rule, so it's a Democrat mayor.
Take it back. You control the Congress.
I'd vote for it, but it is a question of math.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, how can people ignore? It's like, if my own kids are drug addicts, but I'm focused on my neighbor's kids, it's like I'm neglecting my own kids. And there's a sense in which the Congress is neglecting the country that elected them in favor of this relentless focus on other people's problems. That's the way it feels as an American.
Okay, let's first talk about that, which is, they can control Washington, D.C. They don't. This is my fascinating thread throughout this. And I actually started to watch, I'm not a fan of MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene at all. I don't think she's a smart person, but she somehow is more intelligent than Ted Cruz on a few things. And one of them there, she talked about, like, she comes into office, Biden's there, everything's the Democrats' fault, perfect, Trump gets elected, and now we're going to do all kinds of things and nothing's getting done. But you still have to blame the Democrats, even though you're in charge. I have a whole Twitter bookmark. It's just called Mike Lee Griffs, because he's so ridiculous. This is another guy that they were actually talking about. There would be a nomination for the Supreme Court. Ted Cruz is a high thought of attorney, skilled lawyer, debate at Harvard, I believe, or Yale, I believe it was Harvard, like winning national debates. So he's not bad at this, but he's got a subject that's so poor that he can't actually argue himself out of a wet paper bag. This, though, is so anyway, let's keep going off from there.
Look, there are lots of problems in America that we need to fix. Why is DC a pit? Because you have a mayor and a Democrat city council that won't let police officers arrest bad guys. And in every city you see across the country, whether it's New York, whether it's Chicago, whether it's LA, whether it's San Francisco.
All right, let me just finish what I was saying. Sorry, the brain farts here. I had to burp and then I lost my train of thought. Which is he's got to blame the Democrats on everything. And that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene was kind of realizing. And that's the stuff that Mike Lee, he talks about Obamacare all the time. And I'm like, you guys have been, the Republicans, right now, you're in charge. I don't know how much in charge, but you've been in charge even more the first time that Trump was there, and you didn't do shit about it. So stop complaining about something that you have the power to change. Okay, anyway.
If you have Democrats. We see the LA riots where they won't let people be arrested. All right.
Then why not work in regime change here? Why not use the bully pulpit?
I do. What do you think I do every day?
I never see Republican senators.
Okay, so we'll go to the next one. This one is a little bit of the same stuff. He talks about the riots. We'll keep going on with that.
The riots in LA, I've made very clear that the cause of those riots are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass. And when you elect communists who hate America, who stop law enforcement from arresting criminals, you get what you get on the street.
Amen, I agree.
My in-laws are Californians, and they're wonderful people. Heidi grew up on the Central Coast of California. And I remember I was texting with my mother-in-law, and I think I sent her a video of criminals going to a store and just looting in California. And her response, she said something like, well, this is really terrible. I wish we could, it's a shame we can't do anything about this. I said, yes, you can. Go in and arrest them. Throw their butts in jail, put them in handcuffs, 100%. And it stops.
Exactly.
So he's all for doing stuff, except for we just talked about it's a numbers game. I can't do anything there. By the way, her parents live in one of the most highfalutin areas, coast. When he says coast, I mean, we're on the coast here, where she's at in California. So that they don't see homeless people. That's my point. Where she's at, you don't see homeless people. So let's be a little honest here.
We know how to fix these things, and DC is I think DC voted, if I remember right, 92% Democrat. Democrat policies don't work, and they destroy.
Okay, could be. However, speaking of Democrat policies, you just saw the guy that got elected mayor of New York. I think one of the reasons he got elected mayor of New York is because when they went around on one of their things and asked everybody what they would do about Israel, would they go visit Israel? He's like, I'm going to go to the mosques here in and temples and whatnot here in New York and ask them about it. I'm not going to go to Israel. Why would I do that? And I think that's, for all the scumbaggery that guy is, communist, I get it. He did focus on the issues of his city, right? But there's a bunch of dumbasses there, but, instead of going out further. Okay, let's keep going with this one. This one is foreign aid. And then we're going to do a little fact checking.
Can you see, once again, I couldn't agree with you more, but can you feel the frustration of people, including your voters, every American, at the emphasis on foreign countries and the threat we supposedly face, a lot of which is fake, obviously, over the kind of slowly unfolding tragedy of what's happening to our country? The dollars spent, the aid packages to Ukraine to pay the retirement of civil servants in a country that we have nothing to do.
This is very important because he starts out talking about Ukraine. Okay, so we're sending billions of dollars over there. It's a mind fuck what's going on, and they will get into it later. But this is where Ted goes off the rails, and there's a lot of conversation out there about the woke right. Right? What is the woke right? Oh, you're so concerned about Israel that what do the woke people do? They use issues and call you names and use that against you, right? One of the things that you do all the time, you see it, is you call someone a Nazi, you call them a racist. If you didn't put your black square up on BLM times riots, my kids were getting ashamed on Instagram for not doing that kind of stuff and putting up a All Lives Matter because they're trolls. So, that's the kind of stuff. And the woke people use that against you, right? You've hurt my feelings. Now that my feelings are hurt, you're chanting death to America. Oh, wait, that's there's a, and so when your feelings are hurt like that, you call them names. And now when you call them such a bad name as a Nazi, a racist, an anti-Semite, you don't have to deal with the arguments anymore, right? You just call them names. And now you're questioning why would you even question? Why would you ask me that question? I didn't even have to answer that question. So he starts out by saying Ukraine. We're going to back it up just a few seconds here.
Do with the unfolding tragedy of what's happening to our country. The dollars spent, the aid packages to Ukraine to pay the retirement of civil servants in a country that we have nothing to do with. The endless support for Israel, very expensive. When people are literally buying groceries on credit in the United States, can you feel like it's nothing against Ukraine or Israel or any other country?
All right, let's stop. You said the support for Israel very expensive. How much support do we get?
So he instantly goes to Israel. Well, now, one, you can't complain about the money spent to Ukraine. Now, he's going to just willingly dish these funds out. But that is a problem. He doesn't push back there. He pushes back on Israel because it's just not very much.
Well, you tell me, you vote for it.
Yeah, it's about $3 billion a year is the military assistance.
Is that the only assistance?
Yeah, we just have military assistance. Israel does not have additional assistance. There's an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, and it's $3 billion a year.
So what is it costing?
Okay, let's fact check this, see if this is correct. How much aid does USA give to Israel each year? United States provides Israel with approximately $3.8 billion in military aid annually under a 10-year Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, signed in 2016, effective 2019 to 28. This includes $3.3 billion in foreign military financing and $500 million, oh wait, a little bit more, million for missile defense programs such as the Iron Dome. Since October 2023, additional aid has been provided, which estimates suggesting at least $17.9 billion in military assistance for that year alone, okay? Including $8.7 billion for a supplemental appropriations act in 2024. Historically, Israel has received about $310 billion in total U.S. aid since its founding in 1948, which nearly all current foreign aid on military support. So he's not quite right. He's mostly right, but he's a little bit disingenuous in that. Let's keep going.
Support of the bombing campaign to protect Israel right now from Iran.
So I don't know right now, but I'll tell you this. Let's go back to the touchstone on foreign policy, American interest. Our support, our military support for Israel is massively in America's national security
But what
interest,
does it
and
cost?
it benefits us enormously.
Well, before we can make independent judgments about whether or not that's true, and I'm certainly open to it, I think we need to know what it costs. So what's the annual cost of defending Israel? Do you know?
$3 billion a year.
No, that's the aid. But I mean, the cost of the weapons, for example, the cost of U.S. personnel there, the cost of moving ships to the region.
Right. This is your seen and unseen, right? The broken window fallacy or whatever you have there, which is there's more than just a cost of sending you an IOU. And by the way, I think Tom Massey described it where it's just basically a gift certificate to, one of the defense contractors to just get missiles or whatever it is. So that's really how it's done. And then we're paying that out. But there's a cost because we've now got to take shit. This is the little piece of shit that's causing trouble, and it's now you're always doing something. There's a lot of money that we're spending to pick up their problems, to deal with everything. People got to fly over there and suck on the wall and whatever else they're doing. So there's more to it, especially from a financial perspective, than just an IOU or not an IOU, but a gift card.
Which we're doing right now, the cost of moving tankers, all of that. Do we know what the cost is?
So look, the last week, I don't know, and there's some lag when the administration, under the Constitution, the commander-in-chief has control of the armed forces, and so President Trump has made some decisions that we'll know the cost over time, but I don't know the last week. I don't have visibility on that. The annual cost is $3 billion. It's a 10-year memorandum of understanding, and that's the principal driver of the cost. But
Okay, $3.8 billion actually, Ted Cruz, which makes a little bit more. I'm sorry, we're not going to cut corners here. All right, this to me was the most astounding part, and we're going to get into it a little bit further. But let me take anything in there. Why your neighbors are all wrong about Amalek. It's weird how it's okay. Let's keep going here.
Massive benefits from Israel. Israel shares. The Mossad is one of the best intelligence sources on the planet. The enemies of Israel, the people who hate Israel, they all hate us. It's almost a perfect overlap. And so if we tried to recreate, if we're just trying to defend America, we tried to recreate the national security benefits of our alliance with Israel, it would cost, I don't know, $30 billion, $300 billion.
So can you elaborate? And again, I'm going in.
Once again, this is it's frustrating. I get it. What he's saying makes somewhat sense, but this is he would mock the left as an example if they're doing like jobs saved. Well, you don't know how many jobs are saved, or deaths saved in COVID, and it's like that's something you can't actually predict. We can try, but you don't actually know. So you can't say for sure that you're speculating that you're saving money overall because this is good for. But you know what? We don't know that. We don't know that.
Into this as someone who's always liked Israel and still does, but I also think at this point, given where we are, it's fair to ask rational questions about what the benefits are.
Good.
So
good. He wants you to ask questions about what the benefits are. Let's see if that continues.
Does Mossad share all of its intelligence with us?
Oh, probably not, but they share a lot. Really? We don't share all of our intelligence with them, but we share a lot. It's a close alliance.
Do they spy domestically in the United States?
Oh, they probably do, and we do as well. And friends and allies spy on each other, and I assume all of our allies spy on us.
And that's okay with you?
You know what? One of the things about being a conservative is that you're not naive and utopian. You don't think
Not true. Absolutely not true. We've talked about what's going. You will do what you can to try to get to your utopia, which we've seen even with this Iran thing. Iran.
Humans are all part of the reason socialism doesn't work is the mantra from each according to his abilities to each according to his needs doesn't work. As a conservative, I assume people act in their rational self-interest.
So it's conservative to pay people to spy on you?
It's conservative to recognize that human.
Okay, so I'm just breaking down how Tucker is doing this. This is my law partner. He's 60-some, late 60s. He's been doing this a while. You know, recently he had this deposition that this doctor, he does personal injury. This doctor would. The point is, he took, I'm not going to break everything down, but he took the issue to begin with, which the doctor was saying this, accident or whatever had nothing to do with this injury, to then the end saying to his medical certainty it did. And it was fascinating, right? And you just walked him through, and you just like, here's what you said here, and you just keep these steps. Once you get to this new stepping stone, you can't really go back. That's what Tucker's doing here, right? Like, how much are we paying? Oh, so we're giving money out to this. Okay, now whether Tucker's doing this intentionally, I don't know. But okay, so we're giving military stuff to Israel. We're paying them. Now you're telling me they're spying on us. And now you're telling me we're paying them to spy.
So it's conservative to pay people to spy on you?
It's conservative to recognize that human beings act in their own self-interest, and every one of our friends spies on us, and I'm not...
Do you like it? That's my question. I'm not asking whether they have motive to do it. Of course they do. I understand that, and by the way, I'm not mad at them. But you're an American lawmaker, so I just want to know. Hold on, I want to know your attitude. Yeah. You said that your guiding principle, in fact, the only principle, the only criterion.
I said guiding, the overwhelming. I wouldn't say only.
Is it in America's interest? Is it in America's interest for Israel to spy on us, including on the president?
Overwhelming interest, America's interest. Keep that in mind, because he does change it here coming up.
It is in America's interest to be closely allied with Israel because we get huge benefits for it. And you want to see the clearest...
But I just want to stop on the spying for a second. That it takes place, as you know, and including on the President of the United States and several precedents. And I just want to know if that's okay and why is it okay? Wouldn't an American lawmaker say to a client state, you're not allowed to spy on us? I'm sorry, I know why you want to. I'm not mad at you, but you're not allowed to.
Sure.
And I don't care for it. I don't want to be spied on by you. Is that... It's kind of weird not to say that, but you don't seem able to say that.
Sure, I would say don't spy on us.
By the way, you can see, JC says, put your law partner in. You can see him in the video I do with Tower Gang. I did it at the office, like late. And so I'm doing it. And he opens, I put a sign, hey, I'm doing something in here, just don't come in. And he opens the door just to tell me he's leaving. I'm like, I don't fucking care. He looks like David Friedman, better looking David Friedman. Anyway, let's go on.
They're going to anyway. And by the way, the Brits are, the Canadians are. Like, I don't think...
Well, I'm not for that at all. I think it's disgusting. But we don't actually pay their... we're not their most meaningful sponsor. We're not sort of paying for the operations of the British government.
I got to say, and this is... It's weird. We're talking about isolationists, the obsession with Israel. Why is Israel...
Well, I don't think I'm a...
Remember, Tucker Carlson started with Ukraine, threw in a side note of Israel, and that's what Ted capitalized on. He capitalized on that one. So this is what it's fascinating. This goes down the woke stuff.
Israel spies on us. Well, so does every other country. Why are you mad at Israel?
I guess. Oh no. I'm hardly the one who's.
Okay, I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to just now because we're going to come back to this because it's important. But where is? Here we go. So this is this is a video here. This is Ted Cruz getting worked up about the TikTok bill. Now they're not China's not our ally, but spying. You can have Fang or whatever her name is blowing the Adam Schiff or whatever's. That's horrible. But then we have Israel spying on us. He's like, it happens. I'm sorry, if you care about America, at any point, an ally can be an enemy. Or they're going to maybe if they're spying on us, maybe there's someone spying on them that's going to get that info. We don't like it, right? You don't incentivize them to do those kind of things. So let's see what Ted's behavior is about TikTok.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Beckerman, thank you for being here today. I understand this is the first time that TikTok is testifying before Congress, and I appreciate you making the company available to finally answer some questions. In your testimony, you talked about all the things you say TikTok is doing to protect kids online, and that's great. But I want to discuss the broader issue here, which is the control the Chinese Communist Party has over TikTok. Its parent company, ByteDance, and its sister companies like Beijing ByteDance Technology. Now, TikTok has stated repeatedly that it doesn't share the data it collects from Americans with the Chinese Communist Party, and that it wouldn't do so if asked. It is also stated that, with regards to data collected on and from Americans, that data is stored in Virginia with a backup in Singapore. But these denials may in fact be misleading. A quick look at TikTok's privacy policy, in fact, just last night, shows there's a lot more than meets the eyes. For example, in the, quote, how we share your information section, one blurb reads, quote, we may share all of the information we collect with a parent, subsidiary, or other affiliate of our corporate group. Interestingly, in June of this year, the privacy policy was updated to state that TikTok, quote, may collect biometric identifiers and biometric information as defined under U.S. laws, such as face prints and voice prints. Mr. Beckerman, does TikTok consider ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, which is headquartered in Beijing, to be a part of TikTok's, quote, corporate group, as that term is used in your privacy policy?
Thank you, Senator. This is an important question. I'd just like to take an opportunity first to clear up misconceptions around some of the accusations that have been leveled against the company. I would like to point to independent research. I understand that trust needs to be earned.
Mr. Beckerman, I get you may have broader points you want to make. My question is simple and straightforward. Does TikTok consider ByteDance, the parent company headquartered in Beijing, to be part of TikTok's corporate group? That's a yes or no?
Senator,
This kind of line of questioning will be more interesting when we get to the APAC.
access controls for our data is done by our U.S. teams.
APAC
And
issue.
as independent researchers, independent experts have pointed out, the data that TikTok has on the app is not of a national security importance and is of low sensitivity. But again, we do hold that to a high standard, and we have access controls.
Mr. Beckman, we're going to try a third time.
So once again, it's not national security stuff, but it's reprehensible. You're going to see here from Ted Cruz. But when our allies spy on us, they're likely getting national defense issues, whatever. Scott Pollard, who we don't care.
Because the words that came out of your mouth have no relation to the question you were asked. Your privacy policy says you will share information with your corporate group. I'm asking a very simple question. Is ByteDance, your parent company, headquartered in Beijing, part of your corporate group? Yes or no, as you use the term in your privacy policy?
Senator, I think it's important that I address the broader point in your statement.
So are you willing to answer the question, yes or no? It is a yes or no question. Are they part of your corporate group or not?
Yes, Senator, it is.
Yes, it is. Okay, so under your privacy policy, you're explicitly stating that you may be sharing data with them, including biometric identifiers, including face prints, including voice prints. Is that correct?
No, Senator. In the privacy policy, it says that if we are to collect biometric information, which we do not collect biometric data to identify Americans, we would provide consent and opportunity for consent first.
But you also say we may share all of the information we collect with a parent subsidiary or other affiliate of our corporate group, which means with ByteDance headquartered in Beijing, correct?
Under U.S. access controls, sir.
All right, secondly, what about Beijing ByteDance technology, which media reports from earlier this year showed Beijing took a minority stake in through a state-backed internet investment Chinese entity, and on the board of which now sits Wu Shenggang, a CCP official who spent most of his career in Chinese propaganda, including with a stint at the Online Opinion Bureau under the Cyberspace Administration of China, China's internet regulator. Would you consider Beijing ByteDance technology to be a part of TikTok's corporate group with whom TikTok could share all of the information it collects?
Senator, I want to be clear that that entity has no affiliation with TikTok. It's based for domestic licenses of the business in China that is not affiliated or connected to TikTok.
So, are you saying no, or yes or no, as to whether Beijing ByteDance technology is part of your corporate group as the privacy policy defines it? It says we may share all of the information we collect with a parent, subsidiary, or other affiliate, and presumably that's where it would fall, other affiliate of our corporate group. Is Beijing ByteDance technology a, quote, other affiliate of your corporate group?
Senator, I'm saying that entity deals with domestic businesses within China. It's not connected with
You're
TikTok.
having a hard time. You're answering questions I'm not asking. Again, it's a yes-no. Is Beijing ByteDance technology a, quote, other affiliate of your corporate group as your own privacy policy defines it?
Senator, I'm just trying to be clear to answer your question. That entity is based in China for the Chinese business that is not affiliated or connected with TikTok.
Okay. So that's twice you haven't answered. Last time you did it on the third time, so let's try it again. Again, it's a yes-no.
The answer is the same, Senator.
Which is?
What I just said, that entity is...
Okay. What you just said did not answer the question, so let me just repeat the question again. Is Beijing ByteDance technology a, quote, other affiliate of our corporate group as your privacy policy defines it? Yes or no?
Senator, as I stated, that entity does not have any any relation to the TikTok entity.
So I'll point out it took 3 questions to get you to answer about your parent. You finally answered yes, that you can share all your information with your parent company based in Beijing. I've asked you 3 times about this sister company that is obviously another affiliate. You've refused 3 times. That may be revealing, often as Sherlock Holmes observed about the dogs that do not bark, it may be revealing that the Chinese propaganda minister that is serving on your sister company and who's been in the business of online propaganda, you're refusing to answer whether they fall under your privacy policy. That reveals, I think, a great deal, unfortunately.
Senator, with all due respect, I'm just trying to be accurate here. There's a lot of accusations that are just not true, and I want to make sure that it's
okay,
clear.
I'm going to give you one more chance, and my time is over, but look, in baseball, 3 strikes, you're out. Tonight, the Astros are going to begin winning the World Series. Let's see if a 4th strike, you could actually answer the question. And it's a simple yes/no. Is Beijing ByteDance Technology a, quote, other affiliate of our corporate group, as your privacy policy defines that term?
Senator, as I pointed out before, my answer is the same.
Yes or no? You didn't answer.
Senator, I appreciate your trying with gotcha questions.
It's not a gotcha question. I'm asking about your policy.
I'm trying to be truthful and accurate about the
Are you willing to answer this question, yes or no?
Senator, I answered the question.
You have not answered the question. Is it another affiliate, yes or no?
Senator, I stated a number of times that entity is a domestic entity within China for licenses there.
And apples are red. You stated something that is not the question I asked. Is it another affiliate as defined under your privacy policy, yes or no?
Senator, I answered.
You're here under oath. Are you going to answer the questions?
I answered the question.
Or were you instructed not to answer this question?
No, Senator.
So you're just not refusing to answer it because you don't want to?
Senator, it is not affiliated with TikTok. That's your question, and that is the answer.
So your answer, I want to be clear because you're under oath. Your answer is that Beijing ByteDance Technology is not a, quote, other affiliate of our corporate group, as your privacy policy uses that term. This is a legal question with consequence.
Senator, I understand the question. As I pointed out, TikTok is not available in China. That is an entity that is for purposes of a license of business in China that is not affiliated with TikTok.
So for the record, you're refusing to answer the question.
I believe I answered your question, Senator.
Yes or no? Tell me which one it is. Just give me one word, yes or no.
Senator, I answered the question.
You're not willing to say yes or no?
It was not a yes or no question. I want to be precise.
Okay,
I want to be.
Is this company another affiliate as defined in your privacy policy? That is binary. There's not a maybe. It's yes or no.
Senator, the way I answered, I'm not aware of that. That is the answer to the question.
Okay, so you're refusing to answer the question. That does not give this committee any confidence that TikTok is doing anything other than participating in Chinese propaganda and espionage on American
Senator,
children.
that's not accurate. And again, I would point you to.
If it were not accurate, you would answer the questions, and you have dodged the questions more than any witness I have seen in my 9 years serving in the Senate. That is saying something, because witnesses.
I don't believe that's true. He's probably people dodge. Now, I wanted to play that because it's important to see where Ted stands on private companies that might share your data with a foreign company. Sorry, I burped. As compared to, how does Ted feel about
never taking money from the Israel,
our foreign government?
Why is Israel?
Well, I don't think I'm obsessed with Israel.
Okay, but I think a lot of people are, and like the question, Israel spies on us. Well, so does every other country. Why are you mad at Israel?
I guess. Oh no, I'm hardly the one who's. I've never taken money from the Israel lobby. Have you?
Taken money from the Israel?
From AIPAC.
So AIPAC raises a lot of money for me, but it's actually a misnomer because the people who raise money are individuals.
Here you go. Here's the money shot for me, and it's not the AIPAC stuff. We know he takes. Let me see if I could actually find this here. Hang on. I actually have a photo. AIPAC. Where's Ted Cruz? AIPAC. There we go. There we go. So there's Ted Cruz. He takes about almost $2 million from AIPAC. Okay, that's motherfucker. You go, Ted. Okay, let's keep going here.
Individuals. So it's not the PAC itself, but they're individual members who believe in the American-Israeli friendship and relationship.
Is AIPAC a foreign lobby?
No, it's an American lobby. It's the AIPAC stands for the America-Israeli Political Action Committee.
What does it lobby for?
So, to be honest, not a whole lot effectively. Listen, I came into Congress 13 years ago with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Great.
Okay, I got to play this one more time. Sorry.
13 years ago with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Great.
I've worked every day to do that.
Why would that be your intent? When I had to search for this again yesterday because I'm like, I'm not seeing clips with this is disturbing. Your number one reason for becoming a U.S. senator is to be Israel's number one defender. That's batshit crazy. Matter of fact, if Adam Schiff had said that, he's like, oh, look, my name, number one, is it Adam Schiff? I don't know, one of those guys, not Adam Schiff, it's the other guy from California, those Bang and Fang Fang, right? The China, if he had said my number one goal was to be China's biggest defender, you would be like, yeah, this is a problem. This is a problem that you're not USA's biggest defender. I'm gonna just go back.
AIPAC a lot of times.
I want to emphasize this because it is the most batshit crazy thing I've ever heard.
Israeli political action.
What does it lobby for?
So, to be honest, not a whole lot effectively. Listen, I came into Congress.
Not a lot effectively, but I'm getting $2 million from them.
13 years ago,
Yes.
with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Great.
I've worked
That's
every day to do
fucking
that.
insane.
AIPAC a lot of times. AIPAC, I wish were much more effective. Like there are folks online who are in the fever swamp of terrified of AIPAC, and AIPAC.
I'm not terrified of AIPAC at all. You're the one who seems a little uncomfortable when I'm asking.
No,
this.
not uncomfortable at all.
I'm just asking what AIPAC does. My understanding, having known a lot of people who work at AIPAC, is that it lobbies on behalf of the Israeli government.
Wrong.
Oh, okay.
America has thousands.
Okay, we're going to go to the next clip here. Wrong. Okay, I compared that to the TikTok ban. I think that was the most telling moment here we have. We're going to skip this one, which is in 3147. I think we're good there. Boom. 36. Okay, this one is Ted is upset Democrats. This is another phenomenal. I think it's a slip of the tongue that he doesn't realize because he thinks he's so smart. This is another wacky thing.
And nuclear deal. And the Iran nuclear deal, I think, was catastrophic. And AIPAC went all in lobbying against it.
Yeah.
And they failed. And I was the leading opponent of the Iran nuclear deal.
Oh, I know. They definitely failed, yes.
They failed. And what happened, the Obama White House told every Democrat, when I got here, there used to be real bipartisan support for Israel. That has largely disappeared. And it's the Obama nuclear deal that caused it, because the Obama White House told every Democrat, pick. You either stand with Israel or you're a Democrat and you stand with the Obama White House. And almost every single Democrat member of Congress said, I'm a Democrat first, to hell with Israel. And then I watched as...
Let's think about that. I would rather a Democrat stand for the Democratic Party, which essentially is supposed to be, standing for the U.S., than Germany, Russia, China, Israel. That is bizarre. He's taking that as like, look how communist these people are. They turn down their defense and their loyalty to Israel for the loyalty to the Democratic Party. Can you believe those donkeys? Let's go back here.
You either stand with Israel or you're a Democrat and you stand with the Obama White House. And almost every single Democrat member of Congress said, I'm a Democrat first, to hell with Israel. And then I watched as AIPAC, every one of those Democrats got reelected, and AIPAC did nothing about it. And it dramatically reduced AIPAC's influence.
I agree. I watched it happen.
Well, maybe because AIPAC is kind of a shill itself. Okay, they're not going to... I don't know why they didn't try to run those people out, but they didn't.
And by the way,
they'd rather go after Thomas Massey.
I said, look, the analogy, if the NRA was supporting a bunch of politicians and cared about the Second Amendment, and you had politicians that vote to confiscate people's guns, and the NRA turned around and raised money for the people who voted to confiscate guns, you know what? No one would ever care what they said again.
But the problem there is, you're talking about siding with a foreign country. You're not talking about American issues. You're constitutional issues. These are, like you just said, that's an apple's red. That's not the question. Yeah, that's not the comparison, dumb fuck.
You're making the case that AIPAC is not as powerful as people say it is, and I completely agree with you. I've watched that, and I'm not making the case that AIPAC is all powerful and they're running everything and putting fluoride in the water. I'm not making that case at all, because that's not true. I'm only trying to get to the question of what AIPAC is, and I don't think you're being straightforward about it. AIPAC is lobbying on behalf of the interests of a foreign country, and they're not registered. And you're saying, no, that's not true. You're saying that they don't coordinate with the Israeli government.
Of course, I coordinate. Do they talk with them? I don't know what they do.
But why don't you care?
We just watched a thing with TikTok where he's upset at a private company that might be giving your data to the government. And here he's like, this lobbying group that gives me $2 million, I don't know, they might talk to the government and have a lot of influence. Why would I care? Oh, okay.
isn't it meaningful if a foreign government?
Hey, I talk with Israel all the time. I talk with
Of course you do.
countries all the time.
Okay, well, there you go.
A lot of people have been prosecuted under this law that if you are lobbying on behalf of a foreign government, you must register. That's it. It's really simple. And I don't know why, if I'm working from Malaysia or Qatar or Belgium, and I'm working on behalf of its government's interests through a group of Americans who are representing the friendship between those two nations, I have to register under the Foreign Agent Registration Act. And if I don't, I can go to jail. People have gone to jail, including people I know. So I don't understand why we don't just be honest and say, they're lobbying on behalf of a foreign government. They're coordinating with the government. You know that that's true.
That is not only not true, that is false.
They're not coordinating with the Israeli government.
Do you know how AIPAC raises money?
What?
For elected officials, like what they do, like what the actual mechanics is?
I mean, they go to people who are sympathetic to Israel.
Okay, this is a little bit of a bullshit little argument there. Going to this next one, this is where it's getting even more spicy, and this is where Ted Cruz, now he would call Tucker woke probably for asking questions about why are you taking money from a foreign government, or maybe it's not a foreign government, but we have every right to ask what kind of influence is perpetrated on you from the money you do take. Okay, that's perfectly fine, but here's where the sleazeball comes into effect.
It's a very weird thing. The obsession with Israel. When we're talking about foreign countries,
hardly an obsession.
You're not talking about Chinese. You're not talking about Japanese. You're not talking about the Brits. You're not talking about the French. The question: what about the Jews? What about the Jews?
Maybe we should grok right on live here. Let's do this. There we go. How much money does Ted Cruz get from Japan? Lobby. Searching. There's no direct evidence. Okay. And this is why we're not talking about it, motherfucker.
Senator, you're asking the questions, Tucker. You're asking, why are the Jews controlling our foreign policy?
Senator,
that's what you just asked.
Hardly saying that. And I have
That is exactly what you just said.
Well, actually, I can speak for myself and tell you what I am saying.
Good.
On behalf not simply of myself, but on my many Jewish friends who would have the same questions, which is to what extent, and it's interesting you're trying to derail my questions by calling me an anti-Semite, which you are.
And by the way, I skipped a bit there, but Tucker was very specific, and I made this point before, which is you should be delineating between Jews and Israel. Now, and you can, because they will talk very boldly about all the Arabs. I just watched the thing last night with Joe Neerman and Clint. He's like, oh, there's like 2 million Arabs that live in Israel. And I'm like, okay, but wait. You just said these people, if they were, not housed in Gaza, they would slaughter you. But you're then you're bragging about the 2 million of them living in Israel proper. So which is it? Maybe it's the fact that you have them housed in this area that is the big problem. You can't have it both ways. They're either just inherently genetically evil people that you can't negotiate with, or you're going to brag about them being part of your country that you have in here. This doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so you could delineate between who's Israel and who's Jewish, right? When you're saying Israel, I'm talking about a country, motherfucker. I'm not talking about the people, the Jews specifically, because you can be a Jew anywhere and you don't have to necessarily be in Israel. Now, Tucker was very specific about that, and then Ted Cruz does the mistake. He's this amazing attorney, and he does the mistake of calling him, oh, you're just worried about the Jews. Now, the reason he does that is because he's not a good arguer in this case. This is the best he can do. So you have to call names and to now get him off your track, because you just showed that you're taking $2 million from a group that's really associated with a country that's doing a little bit of wacky shit right now.
I did not.
Of course you are. And rather than be honorable enough to say it right to my face, you are in a sleazy feline way implying it, or just asking questions about the Jews. I'm not asking questions about the Jews. There's nothing to do with Jews or Judaism. It has to do with the foreign government.
Isn't Israel controlling our foreign policy? That's not about the Jews.
You said...
No, it's not about the Jews. This is, by the way, this is why this interview was fascinating to me, because it goes into the mindset of this guy. This is no different than you're like, oh, I don't like, the certain person or whatever. And you're like, oh, because they're black. I get it. Your white privilege is coming out. That's the tactic he's using here. And by the way, it's pathetic and it's sleazy, and it's the stuff that any of the right should not at all be a part of. But Ted can't help doing it because he has no argument. And when you don't have an argument, you turn to the sleaze stuff that you're doing right here.
And by the way, you're the one that just called me, I think, a sleazy feline.
Yes,
So
because you're a big
Easy
fucking
to
pussy.
imply that I'm an anti-Semite, which you just did.
No, I just
When
said, why
I'm
is that the only
asking
question you're asking? You answer it. Give me another reason. If you're not an anti-Semite, give me another reason.
I'm not calling you an anti-Semite, but if you aren't an anti-Semite, now the presumption is that you are, unless you can prove to me by showing me a different reason. Unbelievable. Good wordsmithing there by Ted Cruz, but you saw what he just did. I'm not calling you an anti-Semite, but if you aren't an anti-Semite, then please show me, prove to me these X, Y, and Z steps.
Why the obsession is Israel?
I am in no sense obsessed with Israel. We are on the brink of war with Iran, and so these are valid questions.
But you're not asking about Iran or
if
the
I can
Ayatollah.
finish, you asked me why I'm obsessed with Israel.
Yep.
3 minutes after telling me that when you first ran for Congress, you elucidated one of your main goals, which is to defend Israel.
Yes.
And I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel. I don't see a lawmaker's job as defending the interests of a foreign government, period. Any government,
By the way,
including the ones that my ancestors come from. So that's my position.
By the way, I'm just saying, as an attorney, he does things to Ted Cruz that are brilliant, which is, look, I'm not obsessed. You just said, and we played that part, your primary goal of coming into office was to be the #1 defender of Israel in the Senate. Who's obsessed, bitch?
Position that does not make me an anti-Semite, and shame on you for suggesting otherwise.
Yes.
And I mean that, and that's low, and you know it's low. So why don't you just answer my questions
I'll
in a
answer any
straightforward,
question you'd
rational
like.
way? You certainly have the IQ to do it. So,
Shame on you is cute, by the way, Tucker.
it is. It's not cute. I'm offended. I'm obsessed with the Jews. You just told me
You
that
just called me a
ran-
sleazy feline.
It is sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite for asking questions about how my government
You
is
want to
run.
count how many questions you asked about? What about the Jews? What about Israel? What about
I
AIPAC?
never asked about
Never
the
said Jews,
I have-
ever.
This has nothing to do with the Jews, whatever that means. This has to do with a foreign government. And once again, shame on you for conflating the two.
Yes.
They have nothing to do with
love
each other.
this.
I'm talking about the influence
Israel
of
and
foreign...
Jews have nothing to do with each other?
All Jews, or an attack on all Jews, which I am not, nor would I ever be undertaking. Now, I'm not attacking anybody.
By the way, that's who Iran wants to kill, is all the Jews and all the Americans.
And I'm totally opposed to that, okay? But now,
What a
because
non-sequitur.
Except you don't want to do
specific
anything about it.
decisions need to be made.
We can talk about those decisions.
And I plan to.
Good.
But I just want to get a sense of whether you think, having described yourself as an America First person whose only criterion for judgment on foreign policy is America's national interest, to what extent you're influenced by a foreign government, which gives you a lot of money through its lobby, and you're claiming this has nothing to do with the foreign government. They're not coordinating. Yes, they're spying on us, but it doesn't bother you. And I'm sort of wondering, like, what is this? This is one of the weirdest conversations I've ever had.
I'll tell you what, and I'll answer any question you like, but let's try to...
Are you going to call me an anti-Semite again, or no?
Let's try to ratchet down the temperature a little.
You're the one who went to motive. I'm asking honest questions.
I'm
just asking questions. Yes, that's it. That is what I'm doing.
Let's try to ratchet down the temperature a little bit.
Okay. Picture the house here.
Okay, and I'm not going to play what he does, but Ted Cruz does have abilities to do a few things, and one of those is to do a little story, a little colloquy about stuff. And it's like, motherfucker, you're so full of it. What do we got here? How wild. I got linked into Tower Gang for dirty jokes, and now I'm full-blown not pro-Israel. By the way, Meat Cavern, who was there at BroGrove, that was an intense anti-Israel, but it's actually, it's more like, by the way, most fascinating thing, I DM'd with Clinton a little bit today. I forgot to bring this part up, which is, it starts his interview or debate, I guess, I don't know, conversation is probably the actually way to do it, which was, it was a cordial conversation with Joe Neerman, Good Logic. And Joe starts out by saying, look, I don't think you're like a Jew hater at all. You've probably been called anti-Semitic, and I'm going to defend you on that. I went back and I read all your, a bunch of old tweets, and I'm like, oh shit. And he's like, and you don't even come close to that. And I'm like, Joe, for being an attorney, he really disappointed me. One, he didn't fucking have any concept of somehow when you throw in Israel and the Jews, property rights don't even come into it anymore. It's somehow he just forgets about how these things are. The next thing is he doesn't do good research. I mean, it's so easy. Just watch a Tower Gang episode with Clint. It's probably still out there. They're still out there. You're going to tell me that you haven't found anything anti-Semitic about Clint? That's bizarre. Okay. But yeah, you're full into the dirty jokes now. I get it. Yeah, let's go. Okay. Let's play this one. This one, we're almost done here, people. This is actually my last one. I'm going to play a clip here. Name calling and insane Christian philosophy. I had a good conversation with Top Lobster when I was out there in Florida about this stuff. Look, like I said, I went to a religious school, grew up, Christian, with his wife, which he is, but he's not the same religion as her now. what he comes through here is bizarre, okay? If you go through and you're like, hey, Jesus comes to earth, dies for our sins and then goes back, and then things change that moment, right? You have the start of Christianity and basically the break with Judaism, right? If you are going down the path as a Christian where Jesus is your savior and that's what you're following, you're not, I mean, it's nice that you're Jewish and you have these beliefs, but you missed the boat as a Jew. Now, I'm saying this from my perspective, not as a as philosopher in religion, but you missed the boat as a Jew. You didn't get on board the Christianity. We are going to completely separate direction. Matter of fact, what do you think, the Antichrist? Wouldn't that be a Jew? That's someone who's coming back for the second coming who's not Christian, right? It's not the one that we believe. So it's a bizarre situation for you to now have such a religious connection and affirmation for the Jewish people. You can love them, you can be fine with them, but you don't have to go to bat for them as far as your personal salvation, because they missed the boat. They missed the boat. Okay, let's play this.
I'm just saying, I don't think Israel's the only one. But it's the only one where you're instantly called an anti-Semite for asking questions. And it's also the only government that no one will ever criticize.
I want to talk about this real quick here about Meat Cavern saying, now I'm not pro-Israel. I'm just pro-America, okay? So the problem you're getting now is, and this is where, I saw Ted, or someone here, maybe it was Glenn Beck, he's like, the guy that won in New York, he's going to be to bring down to Marxism as Obama was to Islamism as Obama was to Marxism, and I'm like, as Bibi was to the Zionism, because it is bringing those down. Those people are now getting this close up front understanding. And matter of fact, if you just question, it's like the BLM stuff, right? It's like, I don't think you should be burning down our cities. Oh my God, you want to kill all black people, and you'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? How about some respect for my private property? That's what I'm talking about. So when you get called names for simple and for shit that's going wild, if you don't agree with everything I say, matter of fact, if you don't get on board with things I want to do to other people and killing in my name, in my religious name, then you're you're like the worst kind of person ever. You'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? So that's the problem you have here. And this is where all of this is coming about. And so I don't know that I'm necessarily anti-Israel. I'm just pro-America. And I'm really sick of this trying to demonize people. It's been that way for years. And I'm standing up to it. Why? Because they're mostly white people. It's easier.
And I criticize Israel every minute of every day. Like, the only government that people will not criticize, Rashida Tlaib just tweeted out calling Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal.
Rashida Tlaib? No,
you said no one will criticize.
No, I'm talking about Republicans that I would vote for, including you. And I'm saying, whatever. I don't even like talking about Israel. What I care about, I never do, because it's not worth being called anti-Semites from AIPAC recipients.
Okay, so by the way, this is where Tucker, and he does apologize a few times for being a snarkiness, but he says, I don't care about talking about Israel. And you didn't see it on camera there, but Ted, you can hear it a little bit. Ted smirks. So the retort to that is, yeah, but AIPAC recipients are going to call me anti-Semitic. And I think that's just hilarious.
I never do, because it's not worth being called anti-Semites from AIPAC recipients. But now we are on the verge of joining a war, and I just want to be clear about why we're doing this.
All right, so... And let's get into Iran momentarily, but you suggested it was a strange thing that I said a minute ago, that when I came into the Senate, I resolved that I was going to be the leading defender of Israel. And what you didn't ask is why, so let me tell you why.
No, you said I was obsessed with Israel, and you had just told me that, like, your driving motive to get to the Senate was to defend Israel. I'm like, I don't think I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel.
Okay, so Tucker, words matter. Uh-huh. And you know that. I said I resolved to be the leading defender of Israel, and you said your driving motive, the reason you're in the Senate.
You want to be the leading
Okay, let's maybe we'll go back there. Let's see if I could do this one. I want to actually go back. I'm sorry. Words do matter, so maybe we'll have to play this here just to see.
Make this point and then
okay, so it's 3147. This would be close.
Question: Israel spies on us. Well, so does every other country. Why are you mad at Israel?
I guess. No. I'm hardly the one who's. I've never taken money from this.
This is a lot of money for me, but it's actually a misnomer, because the people who raise money are individuals. Right. So it's not the PAC itself, but they're individual members who believe in the American-Israeli friendship
Is
and
AIPAC
relationship.
a foreign lobby?
No, it's an American lobby. It's the AIPAC stands for the America-Israeli Political Action Committee.
What does it lobby for?
So, to be honest, not a whole lot effectively. Listen, I came into Congress 13 years ago with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Okay, so there you go. Let's go back here and see what he says here about this.
Okay, so Tucker, words matter. And you know that. I said I resolved to be the leading defender of Israel, and you said your driving motive, the reason you're in the Senate.
You want to be the leading defender of Israel. I would think if I ran for Senate, I'd be like, there are people dying of drug ODs on the street.
My driving motive is to fight for Texas and America, and to fight for jobs, and to fight for the Constitution. And you played a very, very careful word game of eliding.
You're the one who said it, not me.
So you still haven't asked why, but I'm going to tell you why.
Okay, this is just so bizarre to me. I can't.
Listen, I came into Congress 13 years ago with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Great.
That's just so bizarre. Okay,
and the reason is twofold. Number one, as a Christian, growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective...
Thank you, aspiring midwit, Swalwell. Swalwell wasn't fucking a Chinese spy. He was fucking a Chinese individual. Okay, fine. But that's who I meant. I said Adam Schiff. So, yes, defamation on me. I'm sorry about that. But yeah. If Israel has 6 million fans, Ted Cruz is one. If Israel has one fan, it's Cruz. Yeah, that's true.
I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of it, says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the...
Okay, I'm going to go back here because we're dissecting words do matter and intentions matter, and we are finding out Ted Cruz is the biggest fucking blowhard ever. Why do I believe that? Why do I want to be the number one defender in the Senate? If this is your driving force, this is your reason for being a U.S. senator, and now you're going to explain it, you should have a little bit more research.
I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who
curse Israel will be in this school. I was taught from the Bible. Those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of it, says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the...
It's in Genesis, but... So you're quoting a Bible phrase, you don't have context for it, and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two... Hold on.
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But what? Hold on. Define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's...
The question is so valid. Is it the people of Israel? He says the nation of Israel. Okay, so back then, was that the Jews? What was that? Is it the borders we're talking about? It's unbelievable. So now he's going to take scripture and you have to follow everything along with that. Now I understand. There was times when you had your first Catholic president, JFK, right? People were very concerned. My church specifically, not so pro-Catholic, concerned about a Catholic person beginning to put in Sunday laws and all these other problems. So you had a problem with someone. Do they have a loyalty to their church or do they have a loyalty to their country? Okay. This was a very big talking point. It was a huge deal at the time. And what happened? He got taken out. So we didn't really need to find out the answer. Okay. He had a loyalty to 6 feet under, I guess. So with that in mind, this is an important situation. Now, should religious people even be running for Senate, the church? I mean, for the presidency, for the Senate? I don't know, right? You might want to say that there's a conflict there at times, right? And who are you going to uphold down? Now, you can also say that, look, with my Christianity and my religious belief that I uphold, values, but they go in line with what I believe and I'm going to put out. Either way, this is a theocratic type of mentality. for how he wants to dictate. And it's archaic, right? It's not even, the New Testament came in, is the covenant still there? Is this still important? Those people forsaken, they didn't take on God. They're still back there in what I would consider the biblical Stone Age. And that's your guiding principle? This is bizarre to me. It's so bizarre but it's starting to make sense. It reminds me of the Glenn Beck thing saying, hey, I want to be a citizen in Israel. And I was like, that's fine for you, but they will never take you in. You have to convert or be born there. And if you're born there and you're not a Jew, you're not going to get all the rights that you should have.
What Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation God's referring to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu as a dictator. It's a democratic country that elected.
This is, by the way, I want to say this, and I mentioned it to Top Lops and a few others about doing interviews, which is when you do, some of my favorite interview people, I'm going to name two, and you may not like all of them, but some of the people that I like that do interviews the best, right? From my perspective, Nick Gillespie, and actually the other one is Scott Horton. And the reason being is because, and actually Tucker's becoming one of them too, which is just say a declarative or a statement that's just, it doesn't, you're just saying something, right? Which is the conclusory statement basically is what I'm looking for. And instead of just letting it happen, you're like, explain that word, and you get to, it causes interruptions, but sometimes you get such better answers because you don't just let them pontificate and blow hard all this shit here. Tucker does a good job of that too. He interrupts a lot, especially in this interview, but I find it helpful because he's making people, in this case, Ted Cruz, define what he's saying.
But he's the prime minister, right? But just like, America is the country run by Donald Trump. No, actually, the American people elected Donald Trump. The same principle
This is silly. I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is
You believe that's what God was talking about in Genesis.
I do, but
that country's existed since when?
For thousands of years. Now, there was a time when it didn't exist, and then it was recreated just over 70 years ago.
I'm saying, I think most people understand that line in Genesis to refer to the Jewish people, God's chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay. Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is. So I don't know if we can...
I don't remember the scriptural citation, but okay, I keep
Genesis 16 or something like that. But
this is bizarre from a lawyer's perspective, right? Which Ted Cruz is. He will, and we took a break there. We didn't show it, but and also he started to do that in his TikTok thing where he loves to talk about movies, and he will create this scenario of this movie and this act here. But as an attorney, if you're arguing before the Supreme Court, you don't get, or even in my courts, you don't just get to say, well, there's a case out there, and this case says this, and I think that's it. No, you cite the case, you cite what it means, because now if this is your driving force, now that's my words, not, but if you want to be the leading defender of Israel and your reason is biblical, shouldn't you know a little bit more about it? Or perhaps you're just full of shit.
But yes, it's in the earlier part of the book. But the point is,
all right, Tucker, you keep interrupting me before I finish my sentence.
It's important to know what you're talking about. I don't know what so you're saying as a Christian, if I believe in Jesus, I have to support the modern state of Israel?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm explaining for me what my motivation is.
Okay. Lunacy.
Okay, so I'm just trying to understand. You said God tells you to support the modern state of Israel in the Bible, in some place in the Bible that you heard about, but you don't know where it is. That's your theology?
You're going back, am I a sleazy feline again?
Yes.
If you accuse me of anti-Semitism again, I will say that, but I don't think you will.
Try to be a little less condescending. I'm trying to have a conversation.
Condescending. You're throwing this stuff out, and it's my job to figure out what you're talking about, but I don't understand.
But you're not letting me.
Okay. I'm sorry. I want to be polite.
That is, for me, a personal motivation, but I also, I was about to say, I don't believe my personal faith, not everyone who I represent is a Christian. It's not an argument for me to give that we should do this because of my faith. And so as an elected official, I don't give that as the reason we should support Israel. That is...
I'm the #1 defender of Israel. Tucker, you did not let me explain why I believe that. Now he's like, you don't understand. No one needs to know that. Let's go back here.
We should do this because of my faith. And so as an elected official, I don't give that as the reason we should support Israel.
Okay, maybe the we is doing a lot of work in this case, but he is an elected official and he's got his reasons for being the #1 defender of Israel.
That is a personal motivation for me, but I don't think it is the reason we should. The reason that I am the leading defender of Israel is because Israel is our strongest ally in the Middle East, an incredibly troubled part of the world, and supporting Israel benefits America.
This is bizarre because he said his number one reason for when he came into there 13 years ago was to be the number one defender of Israel. And now he's like, well, no, now that you just fucked me around and you've been like blowing my face here with jizzing all over me, I have to come up with a better reason. And maybe America is the reason.
And the clearest illustration of that is what is happening right now. Let me just make this point. And then,
and then I'll just ask what you mean. That's it.
Okay. Yeah. Look, Iran, I think the most acute national security threat facing America right now is the threat of a nuclear Iran. I think China is the biggest long-term threat, but acute and near-term is a nuclear Iran.
Okay.
And I think Israel is doing a massive favor to America right now by trying to take out Iran's nuclear capacity. And the reason I view Iran differently, we talked before about Iraq. I opposed the Iraq war. We talked about Syria. I opposed military intervention in Syria. The reason for that is those did not pose a threat to the United States. I think Iran is markedly different. Number one, the Ayatollah is a religious zealot. He is.
I think that's where we'll end it. Who's the religious zealot here? Who is the religious zealot? We just saw his number one motivation for being a U.S. senator was to be the number one defender of Israel, not U.S. It's a different country, just letting you know. And the reason being is biblical, which he couldn't even support, and which is an outright, just blatant misunderstanding of the actual understanding of what that is. There you go. So I think we're going to end with that. Look, this is 50 minutes into a 1 hour, 59 minute podcast. I may break down the rest of this. This is the kind of stuff I've always loved doing. Taking time, watching a podcast. But the problem is, it fucking takes forever to get these clips as you just want to you have to get to be able to nuke these motherfuckers. And then it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time, people. So, and I didn't even think we didn't get any super chats. We didn't get any Rumble rants. How am I going to afford to... How am I going to afford to do this if I don't get paid? I'm just kidding here. Okay, so oh my God, CD Shannon, go on BroGrove, grow to BroGrove. Yes, if you guys go next year, CD's was there this year. Shannon, we'll get more people there. I'm going to try to make it a thing. Hopefully they have it a time frame like they did this year where I can block off my calendar well ahead of time. I had an absolute blast. I love all those guys that were down there. I want to see more people and have more fun and take care of it. The beer was horrible at this event. They had like your Bud Lights, it's just the crap stuff. I had to go to the store. Cole at one point, he's like, Tyler, can I borrow your rental? And I'm like, motherfucker, you're not gonna, I'm not going to be responsible for, I don't know how you drive, but I said, I'll go with you because I wanted to get beer. So we went there, we got some actual beer. I got these 2 big cans because I wanted to have them. I started drinking one. I put the other one in a cooler that I thought was hidden. Top Lobster's cousin takes it, opens it, and drinks it. Probably saved me because it would have made me a little too tipsy. And there we are. I loved everybody that I saw there and met. I just thankful for everybody there. I had a great time once again. We got to do it again next year. Who knows where Tower Gang's going to be? There's some ideas in the works. There's different camps that are dealing with stuff. As Mac would say on Always Sunny, I'm running both sides so that I always win. That's my whole thing. I don't know that I want to necessarily keep doing that, but here we are. I appreciate everybody coming in here. Top's cousin gave me anime black vibes. He was hilarious. He was the guy that walked the land last time. So I had a fantastic time. Once again, I can't emphasize my favorite people there. Toad, Top Lobster, his wife, Raven, his wife, CD, and Duke. I was actually, CD, I know you're in here. I was actually thrilled to meet both of you. You guys are just so nice and generous, and I appreciated everything that you did. And I wish I could have just spent more time, but I really wanted to get back to my wife. So you guys like and subscribe this channel, share it out there. We will be back next week. Maybe I'm going to start doing Wednesday shows since Tower Gang has kind of got that void. By the way, come check out 5 till midnight. I'm going to be on there, Adam Nutter and the gang, this Monday. They do it on Mondays. I'm going to be there. It's 8 Eastern. I'm going to be on there talking about whatever they want me to talk about. And so maybe I need to get up on my the news or whatnot. But we will see there. Yeah, Meet Cavern. It was really great to see you guys as well. I'm out of here. I can't keep telling everybody I love seeing you. But until next time.
Can you see by the unworthy light?
is it